Hi, friends. So I've been thinking a lot about this process of re-emerging from these past 15, 16 months and the process of re-entry and feeling called to create ritual around it, really to create a sacred circle, to create sacred space around the newness of this time, because we're all having a lot of feelings about it. And because the way that we're re-emerging into the world is different. Like, we're not the same people that we were 15 months ago. So I just wanted to offer a little ritual to us as we prepare our hearts, as we prepare our nervous systems, as we prepare our minds, which might be freaking out a little bit, to re-enter. So I'm going to lead us in this ritual. I'm going to invite us to first ground ourselves into sacred space. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that, and just take a beautiful deep breath in and to let it out, and to just feel yourself let out anything that feels heavy, anything that feels like it is not in your highest good, anything that's not yours, and to just let it out. And let's do that one more time. Beautiful deep breath in and let it out. Beautiful. And then once you feel grounded, once your nervous system maybe feels a little bit more even, when you feel ready, you can gently let your eyes flutter open. We can move into our ritual. So this ritual requires a piece of paper and a few different colored pens or markers if you have them. If you don't have different colored pens or markers, using the same one is perfect. So 4 different colors if you have them. So you're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to draw a giant peace sign on the piece of paper. So a big circle, and then, like a peace sign, a pie. And in one of the quadrants, I'm going to invite you to write, what were you secretly glad to leave behind? What did you leave behind and you were kind of secretly glad to leave behind during the past 15 months? Maybe it was having to travel for work. Maybe it was having to go to social gatherings that you didn't really want to go to, right? What were you glad to leave behind? And you can write this, you can draw it, you can do one word, you can have a bunch of different things, whatever feels good is perfect. So that's the first part of the pie. Now the second part is going to be, what did I do differently during the pandemic? And I should say too, I meant to mention, these questions were inspired by Brene Brown's interview with Priya Parker. Priya Parker wrote The Art of Gathering. It's a fantastic interview. Definitely check it out. Okay, so now that we've moved on from my typical podcast plug, what did we do differently during the pandemic? Maybe we discovered new ways to be with community across the world, right? What did we do differently? And you're writing that in your another color marker. And then in your third part of the peace sign, in the third part of the pie, what am I being called to recreate anew? For so many of us, we were invited to recreate reality, right? To maybe even explode old paradigms for the ways that we do things. So what am I feeling called to recreate anew? This might be my relationship with myself. It might be a professional relationship, how I work. What am I feeling called to recreate anew? And then in the fourth color, I'm going to invite you to kind of look at everything that you wrote and see what jumps out at you. Maybe your spirit is like, ooh, this one feels really important to remember. So what is it that jumps out at you? What is it that feels juiciest? What is it that's kind of sticking with you? And just circle that. And this gets to be your top priority for this next chapter. Your top priority. Because we're feeling called to allocate our time and our resources differently, and it feels important to me to honor that. So I hope you enjoy this little exercise. This is a way to kind of play with re-entry, and I know that we're all having a lot of different feelings on different levels, right? Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. And creating a space just to actually reflect and think about, okay, instead of just rushing forward into, the way that things were, we get to take a step back and be intentional about it. And the last thing that I want to add that really struck me from this conversation that I've started to employ now more personally is making explicit the implicit. So as we're in this process of figuring out what feels comfortable to us in terms of our own precautions or lack thereof, to name it, the naming of it is really powerful. And I'll just share, the other day I was at a wedding couple's house, and it was the first time I was in like someone else's house that wasn't a dear friend, and I just said it, like, I'm so excited to be with you, and this is the first time I'm doing this, and it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I just want to kind of acknowledge that and name it. And we talked together, and we decided we were going to do our meeting outside instead, that felt better for everyone. So we're inside a little bit and outside a little bit, but just this process of making explicit the implicit is really powerful. So I hope these are good nuggets to chew on. And let me know how the process goes for you. Let me know what emerges. I'm excited to hear. Thanks, everyone.